Give Oscar a big round of applause.
From the Lincoln Memorial Hall in Disneyland, a plaque states, "As Disneyland heads in the 21st century, it takes with it a team of Imagineers dedicated to the original ideals of its dreamer, Walt Disney." So, as Imagineering legend John Hens once recalled, Walt never looked back. He always said, "Next time we'll do it better." So Walt Disney was a pioneer, a simple man, and he had one dream of a simple drawing that changed the world forever. So today, Disneyland's celebrating their 60th anniversary. For over 60 years, Disneyland has people have experienced what this man has started from the creation of that mouse. So, as a Disney fanatic and a pass holder myself, I have witnessed how Disneyland and Walt Disney, how his legacy, how he created Disneyland, and his journey throughout his life, what brought him to the world that we live in today. Well, before I get to that, art and animation in the 21st century has impacted people's lives. So a lot of movies have expressed through that. And as Walt Disney did in the past, and for many other famous animation artists and cartoon drawings, we have seen animation take hold in many forms today, and a lot of people love it today, and they're inspired by it. So the points I'm going to go over today is, who is Walt Disney? I'm going to recap on his childhood and how his animation started in Los Angeles, and I'm also going to start how the simple drawing of one mouse created Disney. So transition. So, who is Walt Disney? According to historian Barry J. Michael, 2002, The Animated Man: The Life of Walt Disney, from the University of California. So Walt Disney was born on December 5th, 1901 in Chicago, Illinois. So as a boy, he had a passion for drawing. He went to school. He was a farmer. His parents weren't so wealthy. And his brother, which is in this picture, this is Walt Disney in school, and this is his brother, Roy Disney. And as boys, they kind of had to work for a living. Daily, they would deliver newspapers around their town, about 600 to 700 newspapers to people around town, and it was very hard for both brothers to continue school and provide for their families as well. And for their jobs, besides delivering newspapers, Walt Disney, he as a young boy, he in the newspaper industry called the Kansas City Star, I believe. He basically drew comical strips, and he did comics, like little cartoons of boys or cartoon animals, just anything that kind of inspired him. And people actually did kind of look at that, and they referenced towards that. Around in his town, a lot of people didn't really look at him as like sort of a man, kind of like a child, even though he was a child, but they didn't consider animation or drawing a future or career, and that really put his family in shame. But he didn't give up. He kept continuing, and he pursued towards his career, and later on, well, it comes to that. So now that I talked about his childhood, I'm gonna go how later he developed his animation skills in Los Angeles. So his motives in LA. In Kansas, he started a company called Walt Disney Cartoonists with another animator called Ubi Iwerks, and basically they created comical strips called Laughograms, where it was a video recording him drawing people or just anything that came to his mind. And it was a simple picture, kind of like a GIF on Tumblr or something. So, and it was displayed in theaters, but eventually people didn't really look at that as a succession, and they didn't make a lot of money, so the company went bankrupt. So over the years, here's Walt Disney and Ubi Iwerks. They moved to Hollywood in 1923 in October, where they started their own animation studio in Silver Lake District. And over the years, they kept creating cartoons. Their passion was still strong, and Universal Pictures asked Walt Disney to create their first character called Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, which is right there. And basically, they created the picture and people loved it. At that time, Felix the Cat was a very popular man, and with this new character, people loved watching these cartoons, children, and just movie theaters, and it was a big hit. Now this all seems like Walt Disney has made it, and things are going good for him, but all turned for worse in the end. So now that I talked about his life in LA and his pursuit, I'm gonna see how the simple drawing of a mouse changed the world. So Universal Pictures took the rights of Walt Disney. They took Oswald the Lucky Rabbit away from Walt Disney and Movie Iworks. They had no longer rights over him, which they had to start over from scratch. And over time, they both decided that it was time to create a new character from the lost. So basically, they created Movie Iworks, created this character here and drew him for simple animation use, but they say that Walt Disney created his soul and his image. And his first name before Mickey Mouse was called Mortimer. And before, they created cartoons with him, but at first, Walt Disney's wife, Lillian Disney, didn't really like the sound Mortimer because it wasn't appealing, so she changed the name, told him to call it Mickey. It sounded more entertaining and enthusiastic. And from then, they played with the character's voice, and then from there, in 1928, Mickey Mouse created a new short film called Plain Crazy, and it hit. People loved it, and this mouse really inspired a lot of artists around, and Walt Disney Company grew dramatically. From there, they made movies, and just everything from that on hit big, and which led to the place we all know called Disneyland. So in July 17, 1955, Disneyland was open, and from that single drawing of a mouse, he had the visions of creating Disneyland and made it big in the world. And today, people still look at him and sound just like the big, rich shot that just made it out there. But he actually started from nothing, and he moved up in life to what he created big. So I talked about how his life as a childhood and how his passion grew with art and his impacts in LA, how animation grew, and how one single drawing made the land we all know today called Disneyland. So Disneyland, Walt Disney, to me, he's an inspiration to me. I'm a mechanical engineer myself, and I would one day like to plan to work there, but it inspires me so much that, from so many days he's been cut back, maybe gone bankrupt, but he didn't give up because, one thing that really inspired me is that he had the courage to dream. And we all remember that started from one mouse. Thank you.